So, week 4, part 3. Now we're going to look at cover letters in more detail and then just contrast them with CVs. And we have to kick off with the most important bit about a cover letter often is the stuff that goes right at the front. So you are going to want to put the recruiter's address there, if it's actually a letter, just in case it goes astray. And if it's an email, you've got to make sure that it's clearly signed to someone, the right kind of person in the department, in case it just gets lost and they never respond to you. You also must put in, I recommend, your contact details, just in case your cover letter gets separated or detached in some way from the CV. So put that in. Put in the day's date, and then dear X, if you know who it is, otherwise dear sir or madam, and then possibly the most important thing, the job number and the job title. This is absolutely crucial because we are going through a series of hurdles, or like a sorting machine, and if you don't actually get put into the right sorting box to begin with, you have got zero chance. Everything else is a waste of time. So if you're a nice cherry and you get put in the plums sorting line, you're going to fall through straight away. So make sure that you've got a job number usually and the actual title of the job right there in a heading. Don't underline it or put it in italics, put it in bold and make it big so that there can be no doubt about it. Someone can then sort your letter and the CV in 2 seconds. That's what you're looking for. Okay. And then just in case there's some error, something like that, somebody's made an error in the HR department, restate the job again and the job title and show that you've got a CV. So you say, I'm applying for this job, and this is where I saw it advertised, and I attach my CV and contact details. And then again go back to the job requirements listed in the ad and said, you're looking for this, this, and this, and I have these qualities. Okay. And you list them in the order in which they listed them. Don't put your order in. They've chosen that order for some reason, so accept it and just go with it. Okay, so then when we get into the heart of the cover letter, which isn't a very long letter, it's only 1 page, so perhaps 3 paragraphs at the most. You're applying for this position, you need these skills. I'm not a native French speaker, but I went to France, worked there for a year, became fluent, and you need someone who's got a degree in economics or business, and I've got that, or I will have that. So there you are, showing that, and you're making a reference to your CV as showing that you have these things. See my academic record on the CV, where you will have a line or two describing what it is that you've studied in business at Brooks. If we were just to compare CVs with cover letters, then CVs are to a certain extent driven by where you want to go. Remember that little profile bit? That's sort of hinting at what you would ideally like to do. Don't spend too long on that when you're fresh out of university. But you need a little tiny bit there. But the CV is the same for every job application in this round. In other words, you have one CV for now, the autumn of 2020. In a year's time, it will have changed. You'll have more skills and things like that, and that's a different CV. But right now, you only have the one CV. And it should give you an opportunity to display or talk about some vignettes. So it should just hint at them without giving the whole vignette. Because if they want that, well, they know what they've got to do. Invite you for an interview, and then you'll tell them. So it's designed to get you past the early sifts and into the interview room. And never more than 1 page, I would say, if your experience is less than 5 years. By contrast, cover letters are not the same. They are different for every job application, and they are driven by the job requirements listed in that job. So every sentence must count, and you should try to bring out some bits of the vignettes in your CV in your cover letter, just a little bit more, but not the whole thing, because, well, call me for an interview and I'll tell you about that. Okay. Okay, so that's the comparison. CV unchanged in every round of applications. The cover letter always changes for every application that you make. It's driven by the job itself and the job requirements. Now let's come to the employer awareness report. And this is really a sort of checklist of what it is you should know about your interviewer and interviewing firm before you go in. You shouldn't just go in and know nothing. That's, just walking in and asking to be sort of hit around the head. So you should know, what products they do or services, a little bit about the history and origin, but that's the easiest part. You'll find that on any company's websites. Find out about their geographical dispersion. Are they absolutely big in Australia and South Africa, but nowhere else in the world? Or are they totally global, or are they just in Kettering? Roughly how many employees have they got? To the nearest 10,000 if you can, or nearest 100 if it's a small firm. And then how does the firm actually make a profit? Because as you get into business, you find out that there are an awful lot of things which businesses sell the service of, but which they don't actually do. I mean, take Tesco's. They don't actually make any products at all. They just sell stuff. And even Tesco's own brand isn't made by Tesco's. It's made by a manufacturer to their prescription. And similarly, it's true if you go back into almost any firm. They don't do everything that they sell. Quite often they buy in services. So you've got to know what they do and what they tend to buy in, and then have a guess as to why they buy it in. And then, there's the question of money, cash. I know some of the most successful firms in Oxford, and when I think actually of how the firm generates cash, yes, they've got terrific sales and so on, but actually most of their cash comes from investors pouring in different funding rounds, because they have such a fantastic product that the investors are queuing up to lend them money. Okay, well, not all firms are in that situation, believe me. So, where do they get their cash from? And then, for most firms, those things are the same. Where does the profit come from, and where does the cash from? It's usually from trading operations, but just not always. And then, we've talked about the firm's business model, but is that vulnerable to a change, e.g. COVID-19? If they were working in a clothing store or a cafe or something like that, well, that business model's gone, hasn't it? And, the firms that manage to do eat in or take out or whatever, they were the ones that are in the healthiest position now, and possibly looking forward, they're still in the healthiest position. So is the firm's fundamental business model vulnerable to change? And what are the biggest challenges from a changing business environment? So think about that. It's not just COVID, it's all sorts of things that are going on as well in their world. And then, so that's an employer awareness report. Make sure also that with the firm that you're looking at, that where the department that you would be working in fits into this bigger things. Is it just a tiny little add-on bit of service that they do, or is it absolutely central to what they do? Okay, so an employer awareness report, we haven't given you a fixed structure for it. We've said you should include all of those things, answers to that. But what order you do them and so on, well, it's up to you. It's only a note from you to yourself, so you can structure it how the hell you like, whatever makes sense to you. But it should include all the things that we've just talked about. You really should have a go at this before writing the cover letter, and indeed, particularly, I remember doing these. If you then get called for interview, you've usually got 2 or 3 days notice, and that's the point at which you suddenly go back to your report on the firm and you start looking at things in a great deal more depth, particularly the risks and things like that from that firm, because, well, if they were to offer you a job, you'd have to pretty quickly say yes or no, and that could be embarrassing if in fact then you decide you don't want to do it. The sources for that data will come primarily from the company itself, but also check what other people are saying about the company and its strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. And for this assignment, we're looking to see that you have done some basic research on the firm, that you've joined the dots, and also not just that you're repeating stuff that's easily available, but have you come to your own incisive analysis as to what it is that the firm does and what the risks are. So now we come to the taster interview. The 6 positions that you can potentially apply for will go up on the week 5 tab. You have to submit your cover letter and CV for one of the cover letter for one of those jobs, and the CV and your employer awareness report as one document by 1 p.m. on Monday the 9th of November, week 8. Try and do it all as one document, but can you please start each of the sub-documents, the cover letter, the CV, and the employer awareness report, on fresh pages. And then the format of the interviews is that although you're interviewed only for 5 minutes each, you're interviewed in a group of 4 or possibly 5 of you who are your group from assignment 1. So you know these people very well. But it's interesting for you to see them being interviewed and for them, of course, to see you being interviewed. And they will help you with making helpful recommendations. So, in conclusion, what have we done this week? We've reviewed how to make a video for assignment 1, revised the core concepts of the recruitment process, what the crucial parts are, and we started to understand the parts of assignments 2 and 3 that are common to both. So your homework is obviously to finish assignment 1 this week. Then next week's lecture we will talk about exactly what the technique is that one should be using in an interview, how to make a good impression, how to answer questions concisely, and how to stand out from the crowd. And then, of course, if you've got any last-minute questions to ask about the videos, we will have an opportunity to do that in the classes. So that's all that we're going to do, and this week's classes will obviously be mostly about the assignment 1 and any problems that you've got with that. So look forward to seeing you in the classes. Thanks. Bye-bye.